welcome to That 1 Inch Barrier, the monthly podcast in which myself, Kieran and Josh choose a film from around the world to show you guys in the hopes that you'll overcome that 1 inch barrier known as subtitles to open yourself up to a new world of cinema. I'm Nick, as I said. Josh, Kieran, how are we guys?
Good. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in a while, yeah.
It's been a little while since we did our episode for Delicatessen. So when we went to France last, which obviously thank you for watching and listening to that. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. Anywhere that there's a podcast, we're there. We are infiltrating the podcast space globally. But we have a big film. I think if you remember our reaction to last month's episode in which Kieran's pick was one that there was some lead up to. We didn't realize he was going to pick it this episode, but this movie was in the ether leading up to it. So why don't you let us know what we're talking about today, mate?
Yeah, so I'm surprised I was allowed back after my pick. I thought I might have been kicked off the show because no one was overly pleased at the time. But hopefully, after having the chance to watch the film, everyone's a little bit more appreciative. So today we're talking about an Indian film, Lagaan, Once Upon a Time in India, which is a 2001 Indian Hindi language film. It is the second longest film that I've ever watched, and I think it would probably crack the top 3 for both of you boys as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming in at, let me just double check, it is 224 minutes. So just a smidge under 4 hours.
3 hours and 44 minutes.
Yeah. So it's a long movie. The basic premise is that in 1890s India, obviously the British colonial aspect of their occupation of India, a farm village is sort of forced to pay double taxes to the king, who then passes them on to the British officers that are there. But the officer challenges the Indian villagers to a game of cricket, which they've never played before. They have no idea what it is. And if they win, then they won't have to pay any taxes, or the whole region won't have to pay any taxes for several years. So it's basically just a ragtag underdog sports movie. Yeah. With half a dozen musical numbers. So basically, it's Indian High School Musical.
It's this movie has a lot going on because it is the sports drama, but then there's the musical aspect, the Bollywood aspect,
romance.
There's love triangles.
Yep.
There's a little bit of, I guess, the action comes under the sports part of it as well. But we said 3 hours 44 minutes. If you're going to fit all that in, movie needs every goddamn second to do it.
Yeah, it covers most genres. There's more genres that it covers than it doesn't.
Yeah. Where did you first hear about this film? So for context, I guess, I'm going to say, threatened us with this movie a few episodes ago. You're like, I think I found the one. Check it out. It's called Lagaan. And we were like, shit, man, it's 3 hours, 44 minutes. But when did this come up on your radar? Because this was actually the first time I'd ever heard of it. And this is an Academy Award nominated.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, so it was the last Indian film that was nominated for Best Foreign Language Feature at the Oscars, I believe. But it crossed my radar because a few years back, my partner bought me, you probably see them, those posters. It's like 100 movies to watch before you die, and you scratch them off as you go. Oh. And that was on there, and I thought, that's really weird. I've never heard of this. And I looked it up, and it had some good reviews, but it wasn't, an overly popular film. It was on the list. I thought, this is the perfect opportunity, and why not make some other people suffer through the experience with me?
If you were going down, bring down the whole ship, right?
Yeah, that's very much my motto for life.
Have either of you seen a Bollywood film before?
One, yes.
One, yeah.
So I watched a film called 3 Idiots, which is another film that's actually on that list.
Yes.
Which Amir Khan, who stars in Lagaan, is also in. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun film. It was very similar, overly long, lots of musical numbers.
Is it like a 3-hour comedy, basically?
Yeah. And it's like a road trip movie as well.
I think that's really highly rated on IMDb, in the top.
It's definitely in sort of the top 50, I think.
Yeah.
So it's got some really good reviews. Yeah.
I've seen Bollywood. I've definitely seen. I've seen the first hour of Triple R. I need to finish the next 2 hours of that one because I'm I think find me a Bollywood film under 3 hours challenge. That's probably a
is that a thing or is it just all the ones that we sort of get?
I think it is a thing.
I think it's definitely a thing because I was looking up the director and I can't remember his name, but a lot of his movies are that sort of 230, 240, 245, and then obviously this one's 345.
So everyone in India is just James Cameron.
Pretty much, yeah. There's like $2 billion at the box office as long as it's over 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple here and there, but I'll never forget my brother who likes movies, but doesn't love movies. But he went with a mate to a film one day, and they just looked at the poster of this movie, and it looked like this hectic action movie. And they're like, oh yeah, then we'll just go see it. It was a Bollywood film. And he walked out. I remember him calling me. He's like, dude, I just saw this movie, and I have no idea what to think of it. And he was like, well, we thought it was action because there was boats like shooting at each other on the cover, like on the poster and stuff. And it like opened with this huge 20-minute action scene. And then they all start singing. And I had no idea what was going on, but it was actually the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. So I think we were like 13 or 14 at that point. So I was then sort of become looking into more like what Bollywood is and Indian cinema. And I think it's just fantastic. Like, it is the most joyous, exciting, out of this world experience. Like the fact that they can put so much emotion into everything that they do. Like, there is so much passion behind what they do. And then reading up about things like this film, it's actually Amir Khan who's spoken about this. He said a lot of Bollywood films are actually done a lot on the fly. They get a concept, an idea, and then they plan all these extravagant scenes, and they go, okay, well, this is kind of how we'll work it into the story and stuff. And they'll make up dialogue on the day and stuff like that. Because it's more about the spectacle than the story, right? Whereas Amir Khan's very different. He actually won't sign on to a project until there's a finished script. I was reading, well, you know, after I was like, I've invested 4 hours into this, I may as well invest a little bit more. Which I thought was really interesting, is that he's one of the few people in Indian cinema who will actually wait until something's fully fleshed out to sign on something like Lagaan, which...
Yeah. I mean, for people who don't know Amir Khan, I'm not an expert by any means, but he was in Three Idiots, he was in this, he produced Lagaan as well. From what I can tell, he is a big deal in India. He is their, you know, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio. He's the dude. And I can see why. I've only seen him in 2 films, and we'll talk about it more later in the show, but he is phenomenal. Dude can do everything and do it well.
Man's got range.
It did take me a little while to get used to him as the lead. I mean, just probably that first hour.
Yeah.
But then it's just he owns it. Like, I just...
He is... This film is so much hanging on like his performance and his shoulders and stuff, because there is an array of side characters that I loved, but I realized I also loved them because like they were all pretty much comedic relief. Like, there's a lot of comedic relief where I'm like, oh, you're great. You're like, every time he's on screen, I was so drawn to him, whether he is giving a rousing speech to get everyone to win a cricket game, whether he's doing this romantic song with his beloved, or if like when he's like standing up to the English and stuff, and he's like the whole, like, to sort of start jumping into the movie, the whole back and forth he ends up having with Captain Richards when they're negotiating the terms of the cricket match. I was sucking in. I was like, Amir Khan is absolutely fantastic. Then he's got pipes. He's got the pipes. Man can sing.
I think he's one of the few people who's probably actually singing his parts. It did make me laugh when you'd have a musical number, and obviously the whole cast gets involved and they're all singing. But you'd have some guy who sounds like, you know, this grizzly old dude, and then he'd sing, and it'd be like this, like, it almost sounded like a woman singing. It's like, that's not him. I'm not buying that.
But hey, you know what? I'm so into this world right now. It has pulled me, and I was like, I'm gonna let it all slide because it is so much fun. Let's crack into the film itself, because there's obviously a lot to break down. But the first thing I really noticed, and I guess looking at what other things we like to discuss, is like comparing it to films from the same country and what we like, you know, sort of, you know, very limited knowledge of Indian cinema in general. They do not do anything by half measures. I feel like from the acting, the camera work, the score, the set design, everything, they give 110%. There is so much energy on screen. There's so much energy that you could have the most minute piece of dialogue and the camera will rush in and this fucking bassy percussion score will start, and it's just literally someone going like, hello, how are you today? It's like, but it's like, it's almost like a character reveal. It's like Avengers level of like introducing people, and I love that.
It's like a soap opera with a multi-million-dollar budget.
It is. But did you see the budget for this one? I don't know. I can't remember what the conversion of currency is. It was $4 million US.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've got
How crazy is that?
25 crore.
Yes.
Crore? 5.3 million US dollars.
5.
But it was the most expensive Indian film at the time of its
How
release.
crazy is that? Because you're watching it on screen, and it makes sense. Like, it's, a lot of it is set in this. It's a drought-ridden village.
Yeah.
They haven't seen rain in so long. Probably the most expensive sets are going to the British Empire's, sort of houses and their mansion and stuff. But comparatively, when I'm looking at it and looking even at other films that were coming out in the early 2000s, it's not that big of a set. It's not that like grand of a production design. But then these musical numbers start happening, and you've got like hundreds of extras, and you've got musical instruments, and there's not just like these long sweeping shots. There are long sweeping shots, but the camera is cutting to so many different things. Like, it would have been such a big production. The fact that it cost $5 million, and at the time it was the most expensive Indian movie, is insane to me. Like, that's crazy.
It would have cost 10 times that, if not more, if this was an American film.
Oh, yeah.
Totally,
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's astonishing what they were able to do with that budget. And yeah, like you said, that's the most expensive Indian film ever made as of in 2001 when it was released. Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's a relatively straightforward film in terms of sets and locations and things like that.
Even story, to be honest. Like, it's a pretty easy story to follow. It doesn't mean it's a bad one by any means. Like, I was very much so captivated.
I mean, I have seen, and even little bits of Bollywood films. Obviously, if you're at an Indian restaurant, they normally have one going.
Scenes playing
and
on,
it does seem like the storylines are pretty similar.
Yes.
They're generally a romantic, but also like just colourful, like spectacle, escapism. Yeah. I think is like, and I think that's probably why they go for 3 hours. Like, it's just to go and escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the way that I described it to my partner, because we somehow all managed to convince our partners to watch this film with us.
I don't know how that happened. Out of everything we've shown, and the quality of cinema we have watched on this show, because I think we've picked very well so far, she wanted to sit down for the 4-hour Indian film. That involves at least 2 hours of cricket, which is usually the bane of most people's existence.
I think you owe her a very good Christmas present, as we all do. But I was saying to my partner when it finished, I was like, it feels very much like a fable. It's like something you would tell your kids as a story about this guy. It's almost like a Robin Hood story. Where it's like so unbelievable. I mean, I know it's not a true story, but it's in the world of Lagaan, it's almost like this this story you'd tell your kids about the time that this Indian, village farm managed to overcome the British Empire by beating them at cricket.
That's kind of great, actually, to be honest.
I've never felt worse about being English, though.
Susie and I said that watching it. It just makes you feel like...
I felt terrible.
Yeah.
And it's the only time I'll ever cheer India on in a cricket match. But
that's very true. Yeah, as very diehard cricket fans, this was a tough pill to swallow for us. I think a lot of that as well, that for lack of a better phrase, the white guilt, right, which is a big prevalent theme in the film, because it's a I'm not going to say success story. It's an uplifting tale about overcoming oppression, right? Because these villagers aren't just trying to overcome oppression, but they're poor. They've had no rain in years, so they don't have enough food to survive. It's an uplifting story of like not just winning a cricket game, but overcoming severe adversity. And the adversity they have to overcome comes in the form of the most just heinous. I just loved how over the top and campy and villainous Captain Riches is, because he just says the most awful shit all the time, and he just does it with that smug British smile with his disgusting moustache. Like it is, but it's such a caricature, which is kind of funny that we still felt like, oh, this guy is awful, even though it is a very over the top representation of a villain, ultimately, of, you know what I mean? So
it felt very sort of like campy, old school Hollywood acting. Like
moustache twirling.
Like something you'd expect to see in like a 40s or 50s film. And I
we'll
found
defeat them in cricket, see? We will take all their land, see? That's like...
Exactly. And like a lot of the performances felt that way. So I do wonder if there's like an influence in Indian cinema of like watching those like old school, like Jimmy Stewart, Humphrey Bogart kind of performances, where it's a bit campy and theatrical. and sort of bringing that, because I just found everyone so like over the top and melodramatic. Yeah. But the thing is, if it's one person, it really stands out. But when everyone is acting like that,
right? Yeah,
it just elevates it because you're like living in this heightened world where everyone is a character. No one feels like a person.
No.
But that works in this movie.
But it adds that fable element you're talking about. Like, it does feel like something that it's almost like a story that's just been exacerbated the more it's been told, and this is kind of like the final level of where it can get to. And that's kind of great. For me, just speaking about the characters still, the character who I loved the most, who had me in stitches, and I can't remember his name, but he is the medium, the guy who's predicting futures, long hair, ratty. He had the most animated face I've ever seen.
The eyebrows?
The eyebrows. The first shot of him with his eyebrows.
He was fantastic, especially with just how angry he gets at the British. And he's the one the whole movie going like, we must defeat these white men. We'll take down the white men. But it's great because he's terrible at cricket.
Yes, that's right.
Which is also this uplifting nature, we'll talk about that, comes through this ragtag group of people who've never played cricket before trying to overcome. But for me, I think it's Paul Rathbone who plays the Captain Richards.
Paul Blackthorne,
Blackthorne, sorry. Who plays Captain Richards, who is absolutely fantastic as the villain. And then it's that guy who just had me in stitches throughout the movie. And it's like the duality of those performances is like they're both on this level. One is just like pure good, one is just pure evil. And that to me is the movie. Like that is what it's made.
It's like I said, every performance feels so over the top and ridiculous, but so because everyone's doing it, it works.
Yes.
I think if I don't know whether it's intentional or not, but if you didn't have everyone buying into this, it wouldn't have worked.
Totally. Yeah. And it's funny as well, because obviously we're having a lot of fun talking about it as well. There's never a point where I felt like the movie, I feel like you could have taken the mickey out of it. You know, you can watch a movie. I probably have the similar reactions to like movies that are so bad that they're good. Like I'm sitting there and I'm just laughing and enjoying it. And like, this is great. But this is actually a really well-made movie. Yeah. That the story, by the time the cricket game comes on, I felt like I was watching a game of cricket, like completely honestly.
I was wholly invested.
I was so invested in it, and I think it's because the movie takes 2 hours to build up everyone. We get to know every single character. We get to know Katra, the man who has I don't know what the correct terminology now, but in the movie they call it the crippled hand. You know, it's such a beautiful character.
I found that unreasonally funny. Not because
I know
of
what you mean though.
But when I worked out about 5 minutes before the reveal, I was like, oh no. He's going to be a spin bowler.
He's the flipper. He's Warney.
Oh no!
He's Warney.
Yeah, they found Shane Warne.
They found the Shane Warne of 1890s India.
And I just turned to my partner. I was like, "This is so dumb, but I love it."
I love it, right? But that's it. Like that, because they build up his character the whole time. It's like he has a crippled hand. He can't bowl. He can't bat. He won't be able to do anything.
Well, they didn't even like it was. What do they call the untouchable? Yeah. They didn't even want to be near.
And then the first person to touch him is Bavran, who is Amir Khan's character. Yeah. And then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you can't touch him. You'll get the crippled disease or whatever they say."
Yeah.
But that's the whole underlying tone of the movie, is that Bavran always just sees something else in everyone, and that's why he gets this team together, because they all have a unique ability.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny, because the whole movie relies on him finding everyone has a unique ability. And then when it comes time to batting, he goes, "We only have 6 good batters. The rest of you are weak. You're all weak batsmen." And I was like, hold on a second. I was like, where's the batsman from like 10 minutes ago that I really liked, where he started ripping people apart?
And I just like getting the ancient doctor as the wicket keeper. Like, is this really the best team you could have assembled? Like, you've got the whole region on the line, and you just managed to pick people from your village. It's the Australian selectors. If you're not from New South Wales, you don't get picked.
Yeah, that's it. It's so funny you mentioned that about the whole region on the line, because one of my other favourite scenes is because there's obviously disparities between the villages. Everyone is so upset at Bavran and his village for putting this on the line, because like we said earlier, there's a really intense back and forth scene where Captain Richards is basically like, if you beat us in cricket, we'll give you a year no tax. And then he doesn't move. He's like, okay, well, we'll make it 2 years, but if you lose, you pay triple tax. And Bavarin doesn't move. And then, all right, well, if you lose, it's triple tax. But then if you win, you get 3 years no tax. That, by the way, that scene goes on for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is the prime example of silence. And then it's silence. It is so fucking intense. And then he agrees to it on behalf of the whole region. And the region's reaction is like, why would you do that? We've never played cricket before. These are white guys who all they do is play this dumb sport with a stick and a ball.
Yeah.
But he makes this association with it for a game they played growing up called Gilly Danda, which they used a stick and a ball. They were just hitting it around. So they just have to, train, I guess, to become cricketers. But for me, it's those sorts of moments where that underdog story really just highlights Bavarin, who he is as a person, how he always sees the best in a situation, even if it looks like it'll be his downfall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was the only one that realised they didn't have a choice. I mean,
it's very true. Yeah.
And the reason it all comes up is they actually that year can't afford the single tax.
Yes.
Let alone the double, which they were asked to pay originally, regardless of whether they played the game
That's
or
right,
not.
yeah.
So they either played or they died.
Or they're going to die.
It wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
And like you said, he was the only one that kind of worked that out.
Yeah.
I'm also going to throw you under the bus here.
Please.
It's Bhuvan.
Oh, sorry.
And
My
it's
bad.
It's
it is
Captain
Bhuvan,
Russell.
sorry. Oh my God. I've said Captain Richards. I've said Bhuvan. Holy shit. I literally watched this movie less than 24 hours ago as well.
In a hungover.
I don't know whether I was hungover or not, which seems to be a common theme on this show.
Nick, this isn't actually a podcast, it's an intervention.
You're able.
We think you have a problem.
Actually, where is the camera? What are we doing today? Why are we on the couch? What the fuck?
Why are the microphones plugged into anything?
This is all in my head. What were we talking about before? Where I got called out. Can you just go back and edit all of every time I said Captain Richards and just put Russell?
It's like in a deadpan voice.
Yeah.
Russell's Bhuvan. There you go. You use those ones.
Basically him agreeing to the game because of the taxes and then picking the team.
Such a great scene.
Yeah.
It's a great example of a scene that would have been about 60 seconds long in a normal film.
Yes.
And it's about 10 minutes long in this film.
Yeah.
Which is most scenes in this film.
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah.
There is definitely some scenes that go on for far too long.
Like the cricket game, you almost get every delivery. It is.
Yeah, you almost do.
3 days of cricket that they play.
Yeah.
You get it all. It's kind of great.
Like I'd love to know, like if you time, what time the cricket game starts and how long it finishes. I reckon you could watch a T20 game in that.
Oh, I think so too. I think you're getting a full 40 overs out of these guys.
But it's great. It's genuinely quite gripping. You talked about the medium being your favorite character.
Yes.
So I know we normally talk about this a bit later, but it's a great opportunity to talk about it. Josh, who was your favorite character?
I actually think the guy in charge of the drums.
Oh yes.
And I also
he was brilliant.
He was so good. I just loved how that whole drum thing comes into with the score and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But from the start. And I get a bit of context around that. He seems to bang the drums if something's coming, so he thinks that possible clouds are coming at the start.
Yeah, so he's a mute.
So
he doesn't talk throughout the film, but he's like works in I think the temple, plays the drum and it's like, heralding the arrival of something.
Yeah.
But he's great.
And I love him in the cricket.
His entrance is fantastic when he's coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
Him in the cricket.
In the cricket, I was in
he's great.
He was the one who comes out yelling, right? And screaming. Yeah.
That's right. And then I thought, not to give anything away, but I thought he was just going to come out and do a Matty Hayden and just smash sixes all over the place.
He starts. And it's great because he's got, this is probably for our Australian audience only, if you remember the Nutrigrain ads. And he's got that Nutrigrain yell and he smacks like 2 sixes. But it's fantastic.
Yeah. He's basically just Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah.
He is Glenn Maxwell.
For the cricket fans who are watching, come out, smash some sixes, get out on 18.
Yeah.
Fast and quick, get the job done.
But I love, if I just, like you said before, there's so many side characters that are mainly
comedic relief, right? Yeah.
So none of them were bad, and none of them annoyed me at all.
But I think it's as well because, like Kieran was saying, that exact reason is that everyone gives so much to this. It is always is 110%. Everyone's always on, and it's almost like I'm not a fan of millennial phrases, but everyone understood the assignment for this movie is the fact that yes, it is a sports drama, but this is also this really joyous, uplifting tale of overcoming adversity, like we said, and that's kind of what the backbone of the movie is. And I think a lot of that is explored as well during the match when we get guys like him who come out, hit a couple of sixes, then get out. So like for context for the match, the English bat first and they score 320 something runs. Yeah. And then this team who's never played cricket before have to, and that's a lot for non-cricket fans, like 300 runs in a day and a half. Shit, man, that's pretty good. That's some doctored pictures sort of stuff. Please don't unsubscribe because I know we might have a large Indian audience watching this episode. But just know, as Australians, we're still a little bit contentious about that. But in saying that, the overcoming adversity, we see that through this team who come out and they get angry. He comes out screaming and he hits a couple of sixes and gets out. And the whole time, Bhavan's like, calm down. We need to go. Yeah. And then someone else will come out and they'll say something. It's the medium character. They say something to him and he comes out and he's angry. He's like out first ball, basically.
I think he ramps them, doesn't he?
That's right. It's like ramp shots. He's flicking him over the back like he's playing for. That's so good. Like he's playing for 2010's New Zealand. Like it's fantastic.
It's like if I can't hit it properly, I'm just going to ramp it.
Yeah. Like his first shot's great, where he sort of like taps it and then hits it again.
Yeah, he does a double hit.
The double hit, and then all the English like, that's not in the rules of the game.
That's not cricket.
That's not cricket.
So nothing's changed in 130 years. It's not in the spirit of the game.
Where's your spirit of the game now?
If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I think for me, like he's not a major character, but to go for someone a little bit left field, I really liked Diva. So he's the guy that comes in, picks up the ball, and then just like steams at the wicket.
Oh yeah, so
just knocks all the stumps out.
He comes from another village, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he's the only one who's not from the village.
That's
He
right.
said he used to be part of the British Army. He's an Indian.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he
really
hates
good.
the British, and he's like, I don't care if we're fighting them with sticks and stones or bats and balls. Like I want to beat the English.
Yeah.
And he's
that
great.
Scene where they come over, that second village that comes over and they're really it to me felt like the start of a war scene. You know how they're all like running at each other initially, and then obviously that's when Diva joins.
Yeah.
I love all these scenes like that.
I just wanted him used more in the cricket game. I think after that his meeting, and I thought he was a really good character, and being a bit of an outsider to the village. Yeah. But then he didn't really. I didn't see much. In the game.
He bowled sort of in the first part of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had some good scenes, but definitely felt a bit underutilized. But it really is, this massive ensemble cast.
Yes.
Where I guess the two main characters are Bhuvan and Captain Russell as like they're really the antithesis of one another. You've got like this guy who can really rally his troops and he's really inspirational and he's doing it for everyone. Even if it costs him everything, he just wants his village to succeed. Whereas Captain Russell is just like this egotistical, egomaniacal, ultra competitive. There's a scene really early on in the film which sort of establishes his character, and that's when he's meeting with one of the Indian kings of a different province, where the king asks him for a favor, and Captain Russell says to him, "Yeah, well, that's fine, no problem at all. But you're gonna eat this meat that I've served you, knowing that the king is a vegetarian."
Yeah.
an
And
awful scene.
It's horrendous.
It means nothing to him. It's just so that he can have that little bit of control and power over someone and make them do what he wants.
Yeah.
And the king's like, no, screw you.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So he's a real piece of work.
Yeah.
He is a villain with no redeeming qualities.
No.
He hasn't. There is no nice scenes of him. There is no justication.
No.
He is
Even
just
at
out
the
and
end.
out evil.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, slight spoiler, obviously, and because it's a fable, you might be able to guess. But they win the cricket game.
No way.
What? Who would have thought? How they do it, we won't say. but
Yeah,
it's kinda
I
great.
like how
I
they
like
did
it.
that.
But even in those moments, there's no redeemable qualities for him because he's so bitter about it. But even then, and I'm not going to say it's a king, but who's the older British man who's watching the game who ends up like beginning to cheer on?
I think he's more like the general because there's like three.
The general, yeah.
Because Captain Russell is obviously a captain, but then there's like some colonels, majors, and captains that come out.
He's the number. He's head honcho, right? Yeah. Even to that point, he's like, well, you know what? These guys fairly accepted the bet and yes, we'll lose a bit of money off the tax, but they came out and fought admirably, which is something Captain Russell can't even say, who is someone who is actively, firstly, trying to manipulate the game into his favor by doing certain things. But the way maybe this is just as a cricket fan too. Every time he resets the field for different things, stop the single, gets on the boundary, stop the fours. I'm sitting there going like, wow, he's a tactical genius. He's an asshole, but goddamn, he knows he knows how to play cricket. And that's what suckers you in. If you're a cricket fan, I think you're just going to love this movie.
I was a bit like, all he knows how to do is stop the ones or stop the sixes.
The single or stop the fours.
Everyone in, everyone out.
That's all there is to cricket, right? Slips, who needs them? Get on the rope or get up close.
That's it. But throughout the whole game, throughout the whole film, he's just, like I said, not redeemable in any way, shape, or form. But then we get another character, Elizabeth, who becomes, I would say, infatuated, probably the right word, with Bhuvan. Like she starts falling in love with him because he's admirable.
Almost be a love at first sight thing,
which starts a love triangle too. By the way,
she must be the smartest woman in the world because she learns the language in about 5 minutes.
It is overnight, isn't it? She comes back the next day.
Yeah. So the first interaction she has with Bhuvan, because
right.
So to backtrack slightly, she's Captain Russell's sister who's visiting from England. She realizes her brother's a massive dick. So she wants to help the Indian villagers to learn how to play cricket to try and win. So she meets Bhuvan. She falls in love with him over the course of the film. But in their initial meeting, she has one of the Indians that works with the British translating for her and for Bhuvan. And then literally the next day, they come back and she speaks the language.
There's one joke where she says something wrong once and then all of a sudden fluent. It's great.
Which is incredible. I mean, it's like savant, like...
But she's helping them throughout. Like, she's helping explain the rules of cricket to the village. She brings them a cricket ball as well, which I thought was quite. They've been practicing just with this bouncy rock almost, which is also great in that scene when they first start. Like, I guess you could call it the gathering the team, the training montage, which is a staple of the sports drama. Which is Bhuvan making his own bat too, and it's just this. You remember those like medieval films where they're like hammering away, making swords? That's what we get with him making bat, and it's this giant bat, and it is great. And I do love that at least. I feel like it would be so easy, maybe a pride thing, and this isn't anything about Amir Khan or anything, but like you could find actors who would be great at cricket to start with. But he's not. He needs to practice too. He holds it like a baseball bat initially. He misses the first few shots. And it kind of, to me, adds an extra layer to him of like, he's, sure, the hero of this story, but he's also a hero with things to learn and he can still make himself better. He's not perfect from the get-go. And I think that's what makes his character so likable, is that he is still an everyman, but he's an everyman who's willing to do what it takes to help the village. Which again, just putting more butter on that toast. Like we love him. Like he's just so goddamn good in this film. So, and I think it's there's, like I said, there's probably actors out there, both Hollywood, Bollywood, wherever, that would have the pride thing. They first shot, they hit it for a six. Yeah, mind you, his third shot, which is one of my favorite things in the movie, he hits the ball so far, and then it hits a bell, like right on the bell, and dings the bell, and it was just the perfect like cherry on top of that scene. Just these little bits and pieces here and there.
And I think again, that's the thing that would, in a normal, US production, you'd roll your eyes at because it's so corny. Yeah. But in this, everything is so corny that it just works.
Yes,
it's
so led you up to that for sure.
I feel like we're not talking about the story much, but that's because the story is pretty straightforward.
It's quite straightforward.
Like you read the synopsis, and that's the story. Like you can fill in the blanks yourself. Yeah. It doesn't make it not interesting.
No,
But for people like, oh, well, I don't know actually what the film is about, go read the synopsis. That's the film.
That is the movie. Yeah. It's all leads up to this cricket game. That's literally a life or death game for this village. But Josh said something earlier that is a big staple of Indian cinema, which is the romance side of it as well. Yeah. And there's a big love story. So it is Bhavan and Gauri is this girl in the village who is also infatuated with Bhavan, but their feelings are reciprocated by him. And there is no better way to tell this love story than through the form of song. And because I love song and dance, extravagant musical numbers. But I think, and this is something I think I've always known, but I've never really stopped and tried to analyze and take in. The songs are so literal. You know what I mean? It's not like an American pop song, but they're actually storytelling devices. We find out about their love through these songs. And there's I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but I think one of the more significant songs is Gauri and Bhavan singing to each other about their love, but we also get Elizabeth's verses about her love for Bhavan as well. And she is committed.
It's amazing how cringy those songs sound in English.
Oh, it's great. Because obviously we're watching it with the subtitles on down the bottom, and it's what's
she singing? She's pretty much singing one word or one little...
She has a couple of lines... But yeah, she's just talking about how
I'm in love. Or?
Yeah, she's in love with Bhavan.
She loves Bhavan.
But it's basically the same content as what is in the Hindi songs. It just sounds so cringy when it's in English.
It really does.
But they sing about everything. Like the first song,
abolishing the tax.
There's a whole song about that. There's a song
about the rain coming.
Just the rain coming. That's the opening one, right? That's so it's literally what could be. It's exposition, right? It's also exposition dialogue,
true.
But told in this absolutely fantastic way. And they don't hold back with this. Like there are some massive, like we were saying earlier, there's hundreds of extras singing and dancing these really well blocked and choreographed musical numbers. And it I feel like me talking about it makes it sound like I've just discovered this. I know this has been around for decades, and I've always known how much people do love it. But there is just there is an art form. There is just a way to pull it off that is absolutely astounding to actually see on the screen. And when you're invested in the story, and you're able to sort of see how these musical numbers advance story and advance character arcs and story arcs and emotions, it's fantastic. I'm not saying I want to see it in Hollywood all the time, because I think, like you said, there's a time and a place, and there has to be a sincerity to it that I do really think only Indian cinema can pull off at the moment. I don't see a lot of American cinema being able to do it with the sincerity without making a mockery, making fun of it. So it's very much a cultural thing to me, and I think that and just based on people from India that I've met and known, there is such an infectious joy of life that they have that is that you feel, and I think really comes across in this film especially. It's a great vehicle to do it. Like it's the underdog sports movie. Like it's the perfect place to do it. So
I think that the opening to La La Land would be the only American sort of
the closest, right?
Yeah, sort of like really big scale, lots of people,
and even still, that's juxtaposed. Colourful, that's juxtaposed beginning and end by a traffic jam that everyone's angry in, and then closes off with that first interaction between the two main characters where they give each other the finger. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference. Is that that is whereas like in this movie, I would believe that they could just break out into song, Indian High School Musical, like this is how they live their life. Whereas it's fantasy in the US, and I think that's still hard to pull off though. To do it with such sincerity, but they do it, and it is so infectiously fun.
Their dancing as well.
It's fantastic.
Like no other country I've seen, the way they sort of jolt their body and
I totally know what you mean.
That's in I like RRR as well. That's a really big part of that.
The clips I've seen of that, with especially the big dance.
It's quite amazing.
I think I know what I'm watching this weekend.
It's really good. I definitely would highly recommend that.
It seems like the most. It feels like, considering like we always joke about how hungover we always are because it's 8:30 on a Sunday morning. I feel like this has brought energy out of us.
True.
And we're big cricket fans, so it's not just the cricket. We're talking about the music too. Like this is a lot of fun.
We've talked a lot about what we like about the film. Is there anything that you guys didn't like?
I was going to bring it up at some point. I definitely struggled getting into it. And the first hour, looking back on it now, I can appreciate the rain song and the dance and that sort of stuff. But at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. But it just took me quite a while to get into it, and I think, like, to say if you're going to sit down and watch it, give it its due time. Yeah. It's definitely a shock to the system of what we're used to watching.
Yeah.
But once I got involved, and it certainly doesn't let you go.
Like, oh God, no! Once you're in the grip.
Yeah. That British actress, she was definitely
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that.
that song, like as you say, it just sounded so like in a movie that is corny, but that was just
noticeably cringeworthy.
Yeah, white people corny,
white people ruining everything since 1890.
Yeah,
I'm similar. I'm pretty much the same. Like I think as well, part of that is the setup for everything about, you know, how poor the villagers are, how angry they are as people, like because of the colonialism, and the droughts. Like we understand their anger, but I think also knowing that once half an hour is gone, you've still got 3 hours to go. Like it's an investment of time.
Yeah,
it's a long movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like once I was kind of locked in, I thought the pacing was quite good.
Yeah.
So I will admit there were scenes that did go on for for far too long in some cases. And this is a very, very nitpicky. This is me crawling to the bottom of the barrel to find this. But there is a dismissal in the game.
I know that.
It's called a man-cad. And it's a controversial form of dismissal in cricketing in general, in which the bowler doesn't have to bowl the ball, and if the batsman's out of the crease, they can hit the stumps, and it's like a run out, but it's called a man-cad, and it's quite frowned upon in most cricketing countries. However, my biggest gripe, because it was given out in the movie, is that the bowler actually has to complete a full motion before he can do the man-cad, and he does not do that.
Right.
I didn't know what the rules were like in the late 1800s, but when my boys are out there trying their best, screaming sixes and ram shots, Buvan and the boys, that dismissal irked me very much. It was actually at that point. Now, Rhiannon did watch the film with me, but we were both very hungover. She was sleeping a little bit. That woke her up. My dismay at that dismissal, I was like, come on, that's bullshit. It's a movie. It's a pretty... they were probably going to win anyway, but I was still very upset.
But is there also, and you guys might be able to shed light on this, but where someone gets out,
yes,
but then it's a no ball.
Yes.
And they've run and then they're on...
No, that's because you've crossed.
Yeah, so it's the batsman that's closest to the wickets that are broken.
Interesting, though. It's a good call.
No, not with the wickets broken. So then it's just a no ball from him bowling.
He's talking about the final.
Oh, yeah.
That's all. I think that's fabric.
But then Buvan is on strike then. And I'm like, hang on.
No, yeah, that can't happen as well. But
you can't cross as an...
They man-catted us, so it's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that was the one I was like...
Because the ball's dead.
The ball's dead.
That's true, yeah. So...
But we won't let get in the way of a good story.
I
think for me, other than the things that you guys have mentioned, like Rachel Shelley's performance, who plays the English woman, yeah, she's not good. Sorry, if she's listening, sorry, Rachel.
I'm sure you've got better reviews.
Other than that, I found the romance between Buvan and Gary just really disingenuous. I didn't buy it at all. Like, she's obsessed with him because he's like, you know, the hometown hottie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, never has his shirt buttoned up. He's chest and abs out all movie
if
as
I
well.
look like that, I'd have my rig out all the time.
I don't blame him, but I'm like, if you're going to be the hero of your movie, he's doing it physically as well.
But yeah, like she's like really infatuated with him because he's the hunk of the little village. But he just seems completely disinterested in her.
Yeah.
So when, he's sort of torn between, Elizabeth and Gary and because they both are interested in him, it's like, oh no, Gary, like, I love you and I've always loved you. And it's like, have you though?
Have you? Yeah, where did that come from? Yeah.
I mean, he's got cricket to think about, guys. Let's not forget this. cricket first,
Saving
girls
of the
later.
village.
He's got to.
I think if you want to be picked in the
cricket first, save the village, then the girls.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
If you want to be picked in the test team, I think it's like celibacy is the new.
The only thing maybe I got out of that was that because he said if my mum likes the woman, then that's
Yeah.
And then so whether the night before the mum said, oh yeah, Corey's all right.
He's a bit of a mummy's voice.
That's right.
We'll get it in the extended cut, the director's cut.
The 7 hour.
Josh told us before we started recording a 7.5 hour cut.
First cut.
Lagan's out there somewhere.
I want to see that.
That must literally be every ball of the match.
Yeah.
It must be.
Yeah. There's actually a 3-day version.
3-day cut. Yeah. Oh god.
One of the performances that I do want to touch on as well is actually Laka, who is he's sort of, I guess, the secondary antagonist.
Yes.
So he's one of the villagers that is interested in Gary, but she isn't interested in him.
Yep.
So he goes to the British and sort of plays like a double agent. So he's telling them, that Elizabeth is helping them to learn the game, and he sort of sabotages the first day of the match by dropping catches and things like that.
Yeah.
So obviously.
Obvious.
The drop catches are fantastic.
Yeah, you wonder, it's like, why is this guy being allowed to play? Because everyone's like, oh no, we're not going to pick you because like you've been a cheat at games since you were a child. and Bouvan's like, no, I'll give you a go.
It's just him seeing the best in everyone.
But then he gets a little redemption arc, which is nice.
That is good. Yeah.
I liked his performance.
Yeah.
He was good. He was kind of like, again, like sort of campy villain.
Yeah.
He's Indian Marcus Stoinis a bit.
I'm loving how much the worlds of film and cricket have been able to combine on this episode. This has
been the goal all along.
Marcus Stoinis of the Indian.
We've got a Glenn Maxwell reference in there. Shane Warne.
Warnie's in there. Dear Lord. I think as well, just kind of wrapping up and speaking about the end of the movie, the final over, just the stakes that you feel in that, and again, it's just this accumulation of Amir Khan's acting, which is just so spot on for the movie he's in, the way the camera moves, the score, the stakes of the game, the fact that we have, Katra is in batting, which everyone's like, he's the worst batter ever. And they have, 1 wicket left in hand. Like, it's just everything that has to make the stakes as high as they are there. And it still works. Like, I was still getting chills during that scene, wanting them to win so bad. And I only think that works because of how good the 3 hours that have preceded it are.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. You can have a great ending that falls flat because the rest of your movie sucks. I think everything, and we were saying, even though scenes are long and it takes a little bit to get into it, knowing how long it is, it's just a testament. That last 15 minutes of the game is a testament to how good that first 3 and a bit hours are, I think. And that's
you really come to love and appreciate the characters because you spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
And I think because the stakes are so high, like this isn't just, a standard sports drama where it's, the grand final or the championship game, whatever. Yeah. This is life or death. If they lose, they are all going to starve to death. Yeah. And if they win, it's, going to mean that no one in their region has to pay taxes for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So I think because the stakes are so high, you are on the edge of your seat watching this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you're just so emotionally invested in the characters. Like I said, the performances are great. Bhuvan, played by Amir Khan, love him. Yeah, I'm going to go and seek out more Amir Khan films.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I'm keen to watch more Bollywood in general, but Amir Khan... He's just awesome, and can strongly recommend him in 3 Idiots as well because he's great. Very similar sort of character, like very charismatic, charming, just lovable and affable. Yeah. More musical numbers and love triangles. That's all it is. A staple of Indian cinema. I'm discovering. Yeah. But it is a feel good, uplifting, inspirational. I'm getting into my elevator pitch here.
I was just saying, it's a very good smooth transition. Yeah.
If you like sports movies, you'll like it. Yep. If you wanted to, I guess see what Bollywood films are all about and experience the full breadth of what they have to offer, it has it all. There's great performances, lovable characters. Yeah, it's a fun time.
Like we said, we got all of our partners to watch it with us, and they've all said positive things.
Did.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's
really liked
that's
it.
just. I think that's just a testament to the film itself. Is that yes, culturally it is completely different. If you've never seen a Bollywood film before, it is going to be far different to anything you've seen come out of Hollywood. But there is just an infectious charm and joy and fun and heart to it that is so universal. And I think that's what makes it so great.
Yeah.
There we go. Anything else we want to... We're pitched up. We're done. We're on the pitch.
Yeah, I think...
fucking terrible joke.
The three of us were all a bit, daunted by the time, and I think that will put people off, like just starting it.
You watched it in a very smart way, though.
Well, yeah, and even if you don't do it, just think about that at the start. I basically treated it as a 4-part miniseries, and kind of just paused it after an hour and paused it after the second hour. But then I didn't actually pause it on the third. I was thoroughly involved. I was in.
He's like, next ball. One more ball and we'll pause.
Little steps to get through it.
Yeah, I did something similar. I watched, I think, probably up to like the hour 52 hour mark, had lunch, and then... as is tradition for cricket. Break for morning tea and for lunch.
Oh, can we just quickly bring up, just speaking of tradition, the umpires are fantastic. They are the most... It's funny because they're like, they're non-biased, they're from somewhere else, they're not British, but they still have British accents, which is great. And there's just... That's his tea, gentlemen. Play will resume soon. They literally just sound like that every...
It is very old. No ball.
when the no ball happens, it's great and everyone's
no
celebrating.
Ball.
No ball.
I do say so. Let us get on with the game. We have a game of cricket to play.
It's great.
It's not racist. I'm English.
Speaking of this, sorry, I gotta go back again. I hope I wrote it down, and maybe I didn't. No, I didn't. There's a line that is just so aggressive from the medium about defeating. Oh, here we go. Smash those foreigners. Defeat those white boys. That actually kind of got me amped up. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
I'm pretty sure that's what Virat Kohli's yelling at.
I'm pretty sure it's exactly what he's yelling. It's exactly what he's yelling at us. Oh goodness. Look, I think we all really enjoyed this film. If we're going for, when you can find our Letterboxd ratings when they go up, I probably started at about a 3.5. I was like, it's very well made, it's long, and as the movie kept going on, it kept getting better. I'm going to stick with a 4 at the moment, which is still quite high, but I think it's the movie as an experience, as a spectacle, and as a feeling is what gets it pretty high up there for me.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to like this. I'm not going to lie. When I just didn't. But and then I started off at a 3 and 3.5, and then the last week thinking about it, talking it a bit. Definite 4-star for me. Yeah.
I thought this was going to be probably the first film that we all sort of had a disagreement on, because we were thinking about it last time. Whether it was on air or off air, I don't know, but we've all been pretty consistent in our scores. There's not been usually more than a star.
Yeah,
so I was like, I feel
except
like
for Delicatessen.
Exactly, that's true. Actually,
But that was only like a 1.5 star, because it's a 5-star film for you.
Yeah, it was 3.5 for us.
Yeah. So I was like, I could genuinely see us coming in today and someone's given this 2 stars.
Yeah,
someone has absolutely hated this. But Nick's thoughts were pretty much mine. Started out at about a 3.5. By the end of the film, it was a solid 4. Just really enjoyed it. It's really fun. The runtime is a lot. Like I said, it is the second longest film I've ever watched, only just behind Lawrence of Arabia,
which is only 4 minutes longer. Like, that's crazy to think. Like, that's
Do you think it feels as long as something like that? Because you've both seen Lawrence, right?
Lawrence feels long. Lawrence of Arabia
I actually
feels
don't think
long.
I've seen Lawrence.
Ooh.
Gone with the Wind felt very long to
Gone
me.
with the Wind.
That's 4 hours plus.
I think so. Which I've never seen.
Felt very long. I saw that in a cinema.
It's also, a 90-year-old film now. Gone with the Wind.
True.
1939.
I'll say this as well, just as so hopefully as an endorsement of Lagaan, is that I was literally yesterday, 24 hours ago, I was recording. I was on this couch, bounced out after a night of excessive drinking, And the last thing I wanted to do was watch a 4-hour film for this podcast, but I think it cured my hangover.
I think it would have.
I think it cured me.
Yeah.
I did not,
We're putting that out there. Lagaan will cure your hangovers.
It's science. It's proven. But I didn't do it. I didn't do it like this. I went through. I did the full 3 hours, 44, no pauses,
Are you
no
sure
breaks.
it didn't have something to do with the fact that you waited 4 hours and then you just weren't hungover anymore?
I'm not going to confirm or deny. The variables are up in the air.
So,
Sure.
so as the only one that watched it in its entirety,
watched it
did
in
it
its
feel
entirety.
long? Did it feel?
It started out long.
Yeah,
Simultaneously
the start,
about just the
definitely.
first hour. But I thought the pacing just got better and better.
Yeah.
And the more invested I got, the quicker the movie felt.
The last 2 hours fly.
It flies by because it's
they
a
fly.
fantastic game of cricket. So, but I will say for a movie that is 3 hours and 44 minutes, it is paced actually quite
it
well.
is.
Like
Yeah, I
it doesn't,
agree.
I would say, and I love this movie, I would say The Irishman even felt longer.
Yeah.
Those sort of things.
Yeah.
I will say this, controversially, Avatar: The Way of Water feels a lot longer.
Absolutely.
And that's half an hour shorter than this.
Yeah, no, I
You know what I
definitely
mean?
agree
So
I'd
with
agree,
that.
and I liked The Way of Water.
You see, I didn't mind the way. I thought it was fine. So, like, but it felt longer
did feel
than this. But I think what this has going for it is sports and music and drama and romance. And there's a lot. I wouldn't even say there's action because there's a scene where they all fight over the cricket ball when it hits the I think it's when it does hit the bell and the guy comes out, picks it up, and they all start scuffling. Also, just randomly, there's a fight sort of at the beginning between the villagers, the guy with the chickens. Who then the dad of the kids goes, why do you care about them so much? Are you molesting your chickens or something? And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I did wonder whether that was a bad translation or if
I'm wondering if that was too.
Maybe.
So
if our
you're-
Indian audience can
the Hindi speaking
can chime in.
could let us know. But and then again, if you're English speaking, watching the subtitles, just don't get deterred in the first 10 minutes when you see molesting chickens as a subtitle, because it's not a movie about that.
We've touched on a few of the scenes that we really liked.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite musical number?
Oh,
Because I feel like we don't get to do that on a.
We
no, we
don't.
don't. Yeah. Oh, good question. I think just because of the sheer breadth and the scale of it, the abolish the taxes dance scene is
that's
fantastic.
one that sticks out for me.
Because that to me is like the village coming together.
Yep.
Sort of like everyone dancing and sort of that joint communal feeling of like they all want the same thing. But they still managed to make a song where they're talking about how screwed over they've been by the British and wanting to abolish the tax into this really upbeat musical number. So that was mine, I would say.
Yeah,
yours?
I'm the same for that. Yep.
I really liked the opening number. The
one with the rain?
Yeah, they're singing about the rain coming, and obviously the rain doesn't.
I was going to say,
come.
the feeling like the clouds start coming over and they start praising the rain before it comes. And then it's heartbreaking when she's like, we celebrated too early. I was like, oh, God damn it, man. I was like,
But I really liked that one. I felt like it sets you up pretty nicely for the film.
Totally,
I was taking bets with my partner, like over or under how long before the first musical number. She was very confident that it was going to open.
Okay,
With a musical number.
yeah.
I thought it was going to come at around about the 20-minute mark.
Do you know we do open with narration, which only pops up about 2 more times
That's true.
in the film?
Yeah,
You
the
get
narration was kind of
Interesting.
out of place.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it happened a lot over. There was a couple of scenes where characters would be talking. You know, there'd be a scene of dialogue, and then the narration would just come in and tell us
Explain what they're...
Yeah.
Like, and I
Interesting.
think it happened more when the English characters were talking.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
you're right.
So I do wonder if that was for the benefit of the Indian audience.
To not have these extended
Scenes of English dialogue, because it was
Interesting.
They'd start having conversation, get a few sentences in, and then the narration would come in and go, and then Captain Russell and Elizabeth talked about this thing, rather than having them just talk about the thing.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But yeah, really liked the opening musical number. I thought it was super fun.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those. I mean, they're all really big and flashy, but it was like a very the whole village is coming out and dancing, and you just felt good for them.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that one.
As a visual cinematic thing as well, because they, in the most literal sense, kick up a lot of dust in that musical number.
Yes.
And it looks really cool on screen. I like the way that they use dirt and dust. Even throughout the cricket match, when they're sliding everywhere.
Yes.
It's almost like the equivalent of an explosion, right? This dust moving everywhere. Yeah, it just adds this really sort of grandiose feel. I thought it was, quite good. But overall, loved it.
No, great.
Really loved it.
Yeah, don't know if I'd be in like a huge rush to rewatch it.
No.
Because I'm sure I can spend 4 hours of my life in better ways, like watching 2 other films
Or watching cricket, like
watching
normal
cricket
cricket
in general. Yeah. But I definitely recommend it to people.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
be
I
excited
definitely
to
would.
recommend it to people, and that's
Great
why I think hopefully people watch this or listen to this show and go and seek it out, because it's fantastic. If you're in Australia and you're listening to this or watching this, it's on Netflix.
Yes.
Can't speak for the rest of the world, but it's accessible.
Yep.
It's probably one of the most accessible films we've actually watched so
it
far.
is.
Absolutely,
We've not had to
yeah,
get like
right.
a different streaming
Yeah,
service
you
or
don't need these underground
DVD.
streaming services. Yeah. Yes. Well, speaking of picks,
Yes.
I guess it's my turn, isn't it? For my picks. So I haven't
picked last time.
I
Your
picked M
one was
last time, and I haven't actually spoken to either of you about this pick.
No, we haven't talked about it
And this
at all.
is actually somewhat of a listener pick as well. I've had a discussion with someone. Shout out to Kyle.
Kyle.
Who we were just talking about, and he was like, "You need to check out this film," and it's a film from Iran, and it's from a director called Abbas Kiarostami, and the movie came out in 1990. It's a drama docufiction called Close Up. Now, this is the synopsis of the film. The movie is a true story of a poor man who impersonates the director and gets into a rich household on the pretext that he wants to use them in their house for his next film. But it turns into something far more dramatic and upsetting as the film goes on. But it's an 8.2 on IMDb, 88% Rotten Tomatoes, 4.4 on Letterboxd. So,
What did you say the genre was?
drama docufiction
Okay, from Iran.
from Iran.
Interesting.
So, yes, this is completely left field. It's on Criterion Channel at the moment. So,
I don't know if I could even name an Iranian film.
Yeah, so that was going to be probably my next country.
Sorry
but
about
no, that's good.
Is Asghar Farhadi?
I'm glad we've got there. So
Iranian?
Iranians, like a separation, a
Yeah.
hero.
yes.
Yeah.
Salesman.
Yeah,
there.
Salesman.
Yeah.
Watched Hit the Road recently, which was really good. Under the Shadow.
I have seen that. Yeah,
Yeah,
love
the
that
horror
movie. Love
Iranian
that
horror
movie.
film. There's some good films out of Iran.
Well, that's exciting because, I mean, that's one of the things that we really wanted to do on this show was
Yes.
get away from the countries that people are familiar with.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we've done a Korean film and a French film and a German film, that, you know, the countries that people have probably watched foreign films from.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Which is good, but I think it's exciting to go to the countries that maybe don't get as much recognition. So
absolutely.
Iran's going to be a really fun
And a
one.
movie that I had not heard of until 2 days ago. I was going for something completely different until then, but I was like, okay, no, we'll give this one a crack and
I've not heard of that one
and see what we go to.
in particular.
So,
So
It's
that's
always
good.
nice when we all go in blind. We've done a couple of films that, you know, some of us have seen
yes,
a long time ago.
Yep.
But we've done a couple as well that none of us have seen before, and I think those are always the really fun
So it's
ones.
exciting. Provoke some pretty good discussion, like today's, like Lagaan.
Yeah, that's good chat.
It was a good chat. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe. That would mean a hell of a lot to us. You can also subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you have podcasts. We'll be there. All of our Letterboxd and social links are in the description below. But until next time, that was That One Inch Barrier. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.